What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Elite Cast. I am Parker Rogers, and of course, I'm always joined with
Bressington again.
Matt. Who do we have today? Another special guest.
Yes, today we have offensive assistant with the quarterbacks and Europe's Elite CEO, Evan Harrington.
What's going on?
Join us today, talking about the evolution of football in Europe, his personal journey, and then leading on to how to develop yourself as a better coach, how to improve your abilities and move forward. He's a person in Europe to know when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I reckon we just get straight into it.
Yeah, Evan, let's just go ahead and dive right into your story. Start us off. Tell us about, your journey with football.
Yeah, man. First and foremost, appreciate you guys having me on. Love what you guys are doing with the podcast. Love what you're doing with Europe's Elite. We wouldn't be where we are without you guys. So appreciate you guys for that. Glad to be on, talk about my story. I'm from Washington, D.C., grew up in a suburb called Prince George's County. It's about 20 minutes outside of D.C. I played high school football. I started playing football, I think, when I was like in the fifth grade, and wasn't very talented, but I worked really, really, really hard. I was kind of obsessed with working out and doing everything I can to get on the field. Didn't do what I was supposed to do grade-wise in school, so I had to take the junior college route. Went out to California and played at College at the Canyons under Garrett Tujay, who's now the offensive line coach with the University of Virginia. One of my mentors. I talk to him all the time. Very, very good man. After that, I was lucky enough to receive a scholarship to play linebacker at the University of Colorado under Dan. Had a coaching change, and after the coaching change, I thought it was in my best interest to switch over to offense, and that's when I played fullback under John Embry, who was our head coach, and my offensive coordinator was Eric Bieniemy, who's now the offensive coordinator with the Chiefs, and John Embry, he's the assistant head coach down there with the Dolphins. Coach George Kittle for a little bit, drafted George Kittle with the 49ers. So shout out to Coach Embo. He's the man. And then it was lucky enough to go to training camp with the Chargers. Did that for a little bit, then went up to Canada and played. Got released from up there, then went back to school to finish my degree. And that's when I really fell in love with coaching. Got an opportunity to join the staff as an undergraduate assistant. And I coach the running backs under Coach Bieniemy. Got a chance to spend time with Rip Shear, who's a mentor of mine, been around the football levels for a minute. After that, I coached high school football up in Northern California at Clayton Valley High School, working out with those young men. And then they encouraged me to go try to play football again. I had a buddy named Josh Harrigan who's playing over in Hamburg, Germany. He encouraged me to get on Euro Players and try to go play football. So shout out to Anthony and Euro Players. Did that. I signed and played with the Basel Gladiators. Played one season out there. Then I played one season out in Frankfurt, Germany. Decided to hang them up. End up marrying my wife, who I met my first year in Switzerland. And I want to say I kind of tricked Winterthur Warriors to give me a head coaching job at the age of 25. So that was exciting. I believe I know I was the youngest head coach in Europe at that time. I had no idea what I was doing. Learned everything what not to do if I ever get a chance to be a head coach again. During that time period, I also started Europe's Elite. I was in 2015 with the idea of, trying to help coach other coaches and clubs to get better in football. Then it turned into what it is now, a media platform for young men to show and women to showcase their talent all over Europe to college coaches and some guys who are getting professional contracts as well. In 2018, that's when I was fortunate enough to go coach at Independence Community College. Did a year there coaching running backs, and then had the opportunity to go with the Washington football team. Spent 3 seasons there. Last year was at North Carolina Central University. This spring was at Austin Peay coaching tight ends, and then I got a call a few weeks ago to come here with the Dallas Cowboys. So long-winded. I apologize. I am a coach, so I kind of talk a lot, but that's my story in a nutshell.
No, it's all good. That's amazing. That's a really great story. Just talk. I want to talk for a minute about the amount of like connections and mentors that you've had, because it's something that we mentioned last week with Caleb. You know, his catchphrase is "Your network is your net worth." What is
Yeah.
having these connections like BNME and all these other guys? How has that kind of shaped who you are and being coached by them and coaching with them and just being surrounded by some of the greatest coaches of our time, I believe right now. How has that kind of shaped who you are as not only as a person, but as a coach, and how you interact with different players just around everywhere that you've been?
I think before it even goes to that, it started off with my first ever head football coach I had. His name's Coach Raheem. I still talk to Coach Raheem to this day. Coached me when I was a youngster, and he just instilled that mindset in me to just go hard. And he had a lot of quotes. And I know you guys are young, but it's a movie called The Program. And he had a lot of quotes that we used to say. And one of my favorites one was, we shouldn't say it now, but we would say, kill them all and let the paramedics sort them out. He would say, hey, I want to see snot bubbles. I want to see snot bubbles every play. He really molded me into being that grinder because, again, like I wasn't as talented as everyone else on my team, but I was short and out of all my friends, and, I just really, really worked hard. And then after that, it was Coach Jay Jackson, who I still talk to this day, my high school football coach. He's my JV head coach, and then he moved up with me when I played varsity with my varsity head coach. And he really instilled in me that team effort, being a leader, because I then started to evolve into a leader. And then we go to junior college. And it wasn't just my head coach, but then my strength coach, Coach Robert Dos Remedios, who just instilled in me, if you want it, you got to go get it every single day, And then getting to Coach Bieniemy and Coach Embry, where they showed you the professionalism of it. And all of that to say, especially at that college level, you really got to see the sacrifices they made as coaches, because I think we take for granted the time they spend away from their family and their loved ones to pour into us, not only as football players, but as young men. You get to see those guys be great husbands, great brothers, great fathers to their kids and fathers to us. So from each of those coaches, I took something. My first year at Colorado, I'll be the first one to admit I was very frustrated, but I learned from that experience that I had to work hard because I played linebacker, and the only thing I did was do kickoff. Didn't have the transfer portal like the youngsters have now. So, I really had to put my head down and make a decision, either fight or flight. With all that being said, I've been very blessed and very, very lucky to have those mentors in my life. But I think with everything and every experience, you got to take the good and the bad. With everything you love is going to come something you don't like. We love playing football, and I love playing football. And ironically, I played, I was in the running back room, fullback room, but I did not like running. So, I love playing football, but I didn't like running. It doesn't make any sense. But with everything you love will come something you don't like. And I think it's the same thing with your mentors and with your coaches. You're going to love your coaches, but it's going to be something that they do or they might say that you don't like, but you got to learn from that experience. And I think with every negative experience, you got to see some sort of positive. If you don't like it, then you make that decision saying, okay, that's what I'm not going to do, or I'm going to adjust my teaching or the way I coach or the way I play based on that particular situation. And just don't burn any bridges, man, even if things aren't going your way, because you never know how that thing might come back on you. And again, I got lucky. I really did get lucky.
I think one thing that I admire about you is the fact that you were a linebacker, you turned into a fullback, who coached running backs, who coached quarterbacks, who's coached tight ends. So you've done every level. You've done it from the NFL. You've done head coaching in Europe. You've done positional coaching in the States as well. And I think that your ability to change is something that I think is very admirable.
Yeah, again, playing linebacker and then transitioning to offense, I think that was a huge advantage for me, and something I encourage all young men to do when they get into coaching, or young women to do when they get into coaching, is try to coach on the opposite side of the ball. Because I played running back and linebacker, I was really only familiar with, up front, the front seven. But then when I got the opportunity to coach tight ends at Austin P University, at North Carolina Central and Austin P, I really had to get more heavily involved in the passing game. And that just opened my eyes tremendously. And just speaking offensively, that tight end room is the only position where you have to be involved in the passing game, the running game, and you have to be able to block, so we have to know everything. One thing, that I had the opportunity to experience when I was at the University of Colorado, we had a lot of coaches who came from the NFL, and one of Eric Bieniemy's quotes was detail your work. And I think if you start off at a young age as a player as being very detailed and not just knowing your job and not just knowing the play, but understanding the concept and what you're trying to accomplish as a whole team, that's definitely going to help you out in the long run, whether you're playing or you're coaching. Yeah,
I think this is a lot about versatility, and like as a player, it shows the ability to be coached. I think every good player has to have that the value of being a coachable player. I think that's something that goes a long way for everybody. And then as a coach, it shows the ability to coach the coachable players. I think that, like Matt said, that's very admirable. Just being versatile in everything that you do, stepping up your game in every single aspect as you climb the ladder to get to where you've been. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, sir. Let's kind of shift focus a little bit, and you spent some time in Europe as a player, and then also as a head coach. Through that you started Europe's Elite, and now we have this massive company where we're reaching so many different athletes every single day. How is the game of football in your time as a player, then as a coach, and now having the spotlight on all the young guys in Europe? How has the game of football changed, just like from your perspective and from your eyes?
I think a lot of kids are becoming more confident, and that's all because they're realizing that, hey, the guys who've come before me, they've done it, and I can do it. And it only takes one person to be an example. I think everyone kind of gets enamored or they get excited about the Division I opportunities. But before you talk about that, just think about the steps a young man has to take to just say, hey, you know what? I want to play high school football in America. That's a big step in my eyes because, again, you're going across that water and you're betting on yourself. You're joining a team, probably of kids who've been playing their whole life together from Pee Wee football, and they grew up together in the same neighborhood, and you just decided, I'm going to integrate and I'm going to get into this culture and, train with these guys when I know I've probably been training twice a week, but I'm going to jump right into it and train 5 times a week. So I think young men are being more and young women are being more confident. And, young ladies have done it as well. Sophia Johansson from up there in Sweden, she went over there and played college football. And I just think that the confidence level in athletes in Europe is just growing tremendously. And I think not enough credit also is given to the coaches, the youth coaches who are taking their time out, just like the coaches in the States. These youth coaches, they're going over to America. They're going to the college coaches convention over there and learning and bringing the game back. And yes, Europe's Elite is here and other companies are here, but don't take anything away from those coaches who are giving these players the confidence to do so and encouraging these players to do it. And I think not enough credit is given to the youth coaches in Europe, and they do an amazing job of helping to grow the game.
Yeah, Matt, you got anything?
Yeah, he's completely right. I haven't got much to add because you hit on the head. I think a lot of people don't give enough credit to the coaches, because we've had, especially myself, we have in uni football we have 3 levels of football, and the people all the way through, you've got very, very few that are paid, and they all give all of their time. I know when I was coaching Barracuda, I was given maybe 10 to 15, 20 hours a week of work for my positional team, but I wasn't getting paid for it, and I had all my Europe's Elite and all my other avenues and my full-time job as well. And I think all the coaches in Europe, and that's just my team, let alone all the hundreds of others, definitely need more credit. and like you said, people are really going over to the States and taking that information back with them, which I think is really, really good. I know there was a GB coaching conference like a couple of weeks ago, and there's all the GB coaches, and then invited all of these other people around to come and like do questions and find out information. So I like how in the Great Britain game, not sure about if they do that stuff in Europe too, but in the British game, I like how everyone's kind of learning together and trying to bring the level of football up. And we saw it in the Euros recently too. The coaching level was high.
Yes.
It was really good. It was interesting to see. I was on the sidelines, luckily enough for me, for the Sweden versus France game. So you can see that communication. You can see the level progressing. They're really pushing football into a new era, I think, with the development of people's football IQ, the development of plays and concepts, and like you said, the understanding of the concepts and why we do the certain things. And yeah, honestly, I just think it's amazing how in the last, well, you said in 2015, right? And that was 7 years ago. We've gone from like UFC having small little thing, start a company, over 3,000 athletes now, and we're a recognized brand. We have media passes at the Euros. We're like big figureheads. People see us as like we was number one media brand in Europe for covering American football here. So yeah, it's definitely a special era to be part of, and I'm just happy to be along for the ride, to be honest with you.
Now, Matt, you're exactly right. Because when I went to the European Championship this year down in Italy, and you see the concepts, and that's something you didn't see a few years ago. You see quarterbacks making checks, you see RPOs, you see defensive pre-snap movements, you see halftime adjustments. Like it's really amazing to see, and I think just because the information isn't there right there available in your face doesn't mean it's not accessible, so people are doing the research, they're asking questions. Again, it's that confidence thing where, okay, maybe my English isn't that good, but football is football. When I see those X's and O's and I see a concept, it might be called dagger in English or called something else, in another language. So ball is ball. And again, I'm just so happy to see the confidence and the growth and the coaches and the players in Europe and development. I think that's the biggest thing, because we all know with confidence comes better play. And that's with anything in life. If you're confident and you're fundamentally sound in what you do, you're going to have some sort of success.
Yes, sir. I definitely agree with that. Football it's a universal language, X's and O's doesn't make a difference. Concepts is concepts, and, on the field is on the field. So you got it all right there. It's a universal language, but it's also a great connector between countries, between people. I mean, you look at the game of football in Europe now, we have football in tons and tons of countries. There's Turkey, France, the Czech Republic. I think there's even football in Israel now. Like it's spreading everywhere. We just got done with the Euros, seeing the top competition in Europe compete against one another, and having those guys get connected and networking all those coaches, everybody, and they're able to learn from each other. They're able to have that high level of competition. I think it's just great to see the expansion of it, and just stepping away from the youth level and the professional level. We have the ELF, which Matt and I have talked about at length. Getting the development of players, getting them ready for their shot anywhere. It's a great league. It's a great stepping stone for the game of football in Europe. And I think that's the opportunity is coming for more and more people to enjoy the game of football and to develop into the football players that we know they can be, because we have the high level athletes. Country doesn't matter. America, England, Switzerland, France. Athletes are athletes. You just got to give them the spotlight. Got to give them the opportunity, and that's definitely where the game of football has been expanding towards recently, as far as I've seen.
Exactly. You said your number one advice for defensive coaches was to study the offense. What would you say would be your number one advice for offensive coaches going into maybe even studying defense or doing the concepts? What would you say would be your advice for offensive coaches?
It's the same thing. because again, like when I spent time at UVA, I had the opportunity to go to UVA and spend time under Coach 2J. And I said, what do you do, when you're in that meeting? He said, I'll just go in the defensive line room and I'll see how they're rushing. What are they doing with their hands? And that's something that I try to do as well. I'll go sit in the defensive backs room. I'll go sit in the linebackers room. I'll go sit in the defensive line room just to learn and see what they're seeing. What are things they're looking for in the offense when they're adjusting or getting ready for a game. Offensively, we just got to be as detailed as possible. And I think as an offensive coach, when you're talking about, I think I'm going to be a little bit all over the place right now, but we talk about teams and, your personnel. I think you got to make sure you're structuring your offense to your personnel, because your personnel does change. We're talking about from a European perspective. I remember it like it was yesterday. We had some of our receivers go down and we decided, okay, hey, we're going to play this game. We're going to be in a lot of 21. We're going to be in some 22 personnel because we didn't have the receivers. And I think you can't force things on your players. You have to adjust your offense to your personnel. And sometimes that means you got to get out of your comfort zone and go ask another coach, hey, how do you run that, or how do you do this? And I think that's something that a lot of coaches and sometimes players really don't do, is, asking their opponents or asking other football coaches for advice and what do they do. Here, I've been fortunate enough to watch Adrian Peterson. I had to spend time with him, and I was in the running backs room when I was in Washington. And one thing before the game, he was always coaching and mentoring young players before and after the game. Young players were coming up to him, asking him questions, and he had no problem distributing that information because someone gave it to him. And it's his job as he was exiting and, on the back end of his career to share that knowledge. And that's something that I think a lot of coaches and players have to get better at, because we're always learning. And if you're thinking that you just got it down packed and you're good with what you got and what you're running is what you're running, you're going to be lost and left behind.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's great advice, because as far as coaching goes, it's like you and Caleb have both said, Europe Elite was started to help other coaches become better coaches. And that's definitely achievable. That's definitely been achieved, especially with the global connection of football, just being able to network with other coaches. And like you said, having other coaches interact with one another, having them learn from one another and build on the game of football. And that goes for any level, any country. So I really do believe, I'm a firm believer in networking and learning, but you have to be open to learning. You can't just be, oh, well, my offense is the best offense in Europe, so I'm not going to take any plays out of this guy's book. I mean, come on, look at the Euros. Matt and I have talked about this a lot. The game winner for Austria, a flea flicker, little flip out pass, running back pass. I mean, come on, like other people can learn from that. I mean, yeah, I totally agree with you there.
Sure. So I spent when I was in the Sweden game, I spent like the whole time talking to the special teams coordinator for Cologne and just learning about special teams. I've never been a special team coach, but to spend the whole time learning about it. Okay.
You all right?
Yeah, man. 4 a.m, my throat's dry.
Hey man, gotta make sure you have the coffee to wake up and get the brain going a little bit.
No doubt. I mean, no one can question the commitment of a 4 a.m. start.
Hey, there you go. But I think for now, for this episode, that's about it. We're running close on time here. So Evan, thanks so much for joining us for this episode. We appreciate it, and we look forward to having you on the next one. So with that being said, guys, thanks for tuning into EliteCast today. And that's us signing off for today.
Much appreciated. Bye.
Sure.